Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to Journalism 380. And our news conference today features the entire coaching staff of Billy Brewer's Ole Miss football team. And guys, we sure do appreciate you coming down and spending a little bit of time with us. I think probably this is the first time all 8 of you have been together at one location practically since recruiting started. We're going to start off and give 3 minutes to each one of these people. And if we have a little time and we want to get into discussions of different issues later, we can do that. We're not going to have a whole lot of time. So you can start marking time there, Tim, from right now. What is your name, sir?
Mickey Merritt.
And Mickey, you're a defensive...
Coach of defensive ends here at Ole Miss.
There's a long old saying that defense wins ball games, offense brings crowds. Is there much to that?
Well, I think it probably has some merit to that. We certainly feel that defense has a big part in winning games, but offense has the same equal part. And then we also feel on this staff that the kicking game has a big part. We feel like to win at Ole Miss that we've got to be successful in all 3 phases of the game itself to be a contender on the SEC level.
And as a defensive end coach, you teach both the run and the pass, huh?
Well, it's kind of an awkward position to some degree in that we ask the defensive ends to be able to play against a sound running game, but also we utilize our ends, both the strong side and the weak side, in the defense of the pass. We ask them to drop back into curls and cover flats and yet at the same time give us a good hard pass rush and stop the run on the line of scrimmage.
A lot of responsibility, really, isn't it?
Well, it works out well. We've got some good defensive ends here at Ole Miss. We're excited about them. We timed them yesterday in the 40, and we thought we had some good times, and they're eager to do the things that we're asking them to do. So we look for some big things at that position.
If you fellas, the class has any questions, feel free to interrupt here. Scott?
Scott Kendricks. Coach Merritt, where did you come from?
I was at Louisiana Tech with Coach Brewer, had been there for 4 years. Was there 1 year prior to his getting there and spent 3 years with him at Louisiana Tech.
What is your background, Mickey?
Well, I'm a Louisiana boy, basically. Lived there most of my life, played college ball at Texas Tech, and come back to Louisiana and began coaching in high school there. And as luck would have it, got into college coaching there in Ruston at Louisiana Tech. And
what was your position in football at Tech?
Well, I was an old, fat, squatty, slow defensive guard, played inside.
All right.
I'm Bill Hampton. Coach, I was wondering, in the past, the defense has been the trouble here at Ole Miss. So both. I think it's a little bit but they've been giving up about 38 points to a lot of the teams like Alabama. How many changes are you going to make? Is there a lot of big changes that you're going to make?
Well, I think you'll see a great change defensively. Number one will be alignment itself. They had been in a 40 defense, and we're going to go back to the 50 front, and we feel like hopefully that 30 points or 38 points a game will be a thing of the past. We certainly don't feel you can win many ball games giving up that many points.
Mickey, thank you very much. And your name, sir?
Carl Torbush.
And Carl, what's your expertise?
I coach the linebackers.
And that in itself is a pretty big job. What kind of, what do you have, 3 or 4 linebackers?
We, in a 50 scheme, we'll have two inside linebackers, which I'll coach. And, of course, Mickey Merritt has the defensive ends, which we consider outside linebackers.
So, actually, you guys have to work in tandem in this job.
Very much so. We spend a lot of time together.
Okay, what kind of an assignment do you give these 2 inside linebackers?
Well, me personally, of course, coaching the linebackers, I feel like the linebackers have to be more like the quarterback on offense, reason being because they've got to be very run conscious, but they've also got to be able to defend against the pass. They've got to be pretty intelligent young men because they have to make a lot of checkoffs at the line of scrimmage. They have to call the defenses. They have to make a lot of adjustments before the ball is snapped according to the formation. So the linebacker on defense really has to be a jack of all trades and really has to be very versatile.
Now, it's those 2 linebackers that do most of the reading for the entire defense. They're the plug the holes, right?
Well, they have the responsibility as far as making the adjustments up front. Of course, they're in a situation there. If they make a mistake, they're not going to get a touchdown scored against them like you find out in the secondary. But, yes, we feel like the linebacker has to make most of the adjustments on defense.
Okay, Ronnie?
My name is Ronnie Agnew. Do we have any experienced linebackers coming back for next year?
I think we got quite a bit of experience. Thomas Hubbard, who's been a starter off and on since he's been here. Lee Cole. Got Dwayne Naismith, who has played some. Got a young freshman who's coming back by the name of Fuzzy Huddleston. And we have a lot of young kids I think got a chance to play now. I think right now we have some depth, and of course we're the type of defensive staff, we're going to play a lot of people on defense. We're try to keep all our people fresh.
How's your speed and quickness?
I think we have, I don't think we've got outstanding speed. I think we've got real good quickness. I would say the average 40 time for the linebackers right now is about 4.8, which is not bad.
Coach, my name's Will Hooper. It's been said in the Southeastern Conference several times that Ole Miss has got athletes at linebackers, good athletes, but yet teams still just seem to run right through them. I don't know. How do you teach you coming in here, new coach, how do you teach linebackers to stop the run when we've got good athletes, but they haven't been able to stop it yet?
Well, I think one of the biggest things is our defensive scheme we're getting ready to use. Like Coach Merritt said, instead of a 40 or 60 scheme, we're now going into a 50 defense, which will take a little bit of pressure off the linebackers because we're going to be a multiple front. We feel real secure in the techniques we use, and we've never been physically beaten up front consistently, and I think one of the reasons being is because of the multiple fronts we use, and by doing this, I think this will give the linebackers a better opportunity not to have to worry so much about the run inside and be able to run more to the football.
Coach, we sure need to talk to you some more, but I got to run along here in a minute. Your name, sir?
Ron Case. I coach the secondary.
And that's the guy that's the stoppers back there that stopped the big play.
Well, right, it stick out like a sore thumb.
If they miss one.
Right, yes, sir.
And there's so many times when the secondary guy goes for the ball, and if he makes it and takes the interception, he's a hero. If he doesn't, they score a touchdown.
You're right. You saw a lot of it. I think the secondary is a place where you got to have athletes that can recover, and when they do make a mistake, and yet not give them the big one as far as making a mistake. You don't make many in secondary.
And win ball games.
Yes, sir.
Coach, what type of drills do you do to teach someone to be a secondary
Well,
defensive
feet,
player?
I think the primary drill, you just kind of work in phases. You have feet and hands. I consider those are the things that you really got to have to be a corner. You're talking about different positions. When you're talking about corner, you're talking about somebody who has to have great feet and good upper body strength. And your safety, particularly your free safety, he has to have some range and a great knack for breaking on the football. And then your strong safety and a four-spoke, which we are, he has to be a good run support player and an intermediate pass player.
At this point, you've been here, what, a month? Have you seen that?
6 weeks.
6 weeks?
I've seen some great speed.
Some of the players' names.
Well,
you seen?
Joe Hall, Barry Wilburn, Lee Davis, Eric Truitt. Those four have great speed and quickness, and I'm really pleased with what I've seen as far as, feet, speed.
Tell me about feet. What is your definition of feet?
Well, it's hard to recruit cornerbacks because of the feet aspect in Division I. You have to have cornerbacks with great feet. I mean, they just have to be able to move their feet very quickly, and that's how they escape blocks. They escape with their feet. That's the only way you're going to get away from a wide receiver or someone who's stalking you to block you. So that's your escape method as far as being a defensive back. And the corner is entirely different from any other position in the secondary.
To a layman, when you say feet, that's the ability to move in any direction pretty rapidly.
And the ability to get off the block very quickly, any direction.
Scott.
Coach Case, what's your background?
How far you want me to go back?
Where did you come from?
University of Richmond.
We're going to have to move on. Our 3 minutes are going awfully fast. Here's the defensive coordinator. Your name, sir?
No, I'm Carl Tallbush is our defensive coordinator.
Excuse me, Carl.
No problem. We all work together.
I'm Robert Youngblood. I coach the defensive tackles and nose guards.
All right. And somebody needs to explain us that 50 or 5-0 defense that you're talking about.
Well, the defensive scheme we use when we say 50 defense, we talking about 5 linemen up front on the line of scrimmage. Nose guard, 2 tackles, and 2 ends.
And the ends then curl back and occasionally?
Well, the ends, like Coach Merritt was talking about, they'll play run support or they play pass support in our scheme of defense.
How's your nose guard situation?
Well, in the time that I've worked with them, I think we've got a chance there. We've got two big kids. We got Terry Williamson and we got Arnold Seymour that I feel like, has quality and has ability, and we feel pretty good at that particular position right now.
And the other two positions that you're involved with? Or?
Well, the tackle position, we are doing a little experimenting there. We moved Bob Blakemore there to a down lineman, and we got Randy Reed. Not Randy, I mean Benton Reed. We're working with him some there. And, of course, Andre Townsend, the kid who played as a down lineman last year, is coming back. We feel, good with him. So I think we've got some athletes to work with there.
How's the speed and quickness of these people? And how important is it?
Well, speed and quickness in the scheme we play, because, we have a lot of movement and so forth, is very important. And these kids have got good quickness, and I'd say, good average speed.
When you're talking about a lot of movement, you're going to see a lot of stunning in the front line?
Well, a lot of, we play gap responsibility. The individual has a certain gap, and we, at times, will move to that particular gap instead of just, we'll say, reading a block and then moving to it.
So you try to confuse that offensive line so they can't get you clean, huh?
Well, that's true. I feel like any time that we can line up and make a movement that will make them have to hesitate or think of who they're going to block, that gives us an edge as far as the defensive play is concerned.
Coach, in past at Ole Miss, it seems like the main idea for Ole Miss's defense is to contain at the line of scrimmage instead of, let's say, go after the passer or go after the running back. We're going to see a big change in Ole Miss defense.
Well, we're going to be an aggressive defense. We've always been very aggressive. I know that I've been with Coach Brewer a long time, high school and college and so forth, and we prided ourselves on playing a very aggressive defense. And, of course, and again, in our scheme of defense, we've got it where we can come after you with a blitz or with a rush, or we can defend with a maximum perimeter defense. As far as, being able to drop 8, rush 3, rush 8, and drop 3.
You mentioned Andre Townsend. There's been a rumor circulating that he may be moving to offense. Is there any truth to that at all?
That's the first I've ever heard of that.
Okay. And that quits that.
How did off-season drills go as far as the defensive line?
Off-season drills, I felt like that we had a real good off-season program. Coach Parker is maximum on the weights now, and all the kids that I've talked to have increased their max in the weights. And in the time that we've been here and working with them in the agility drills, we feel like that they've gotten quicker and things of that nature. So we've been very pleased there.
Okay, thank you, Coach. Let's move along to the offense now. Your name, sir?
Robert McGraw. I
And-
coach the offensive line.
Okay, you're the other side of the blue-red game coming up here, huh?
Right.
You haven't had much of a chance to see any of these, well, no chance at all to really see them in pads or what they look like. That's coming up next week, right?
We start the 22nd, right,
And,
after the break.
so, from what you see, what do you feel you've got in the offensive line?
Well, I understand that Ole Miss graduated 7 offensive linemen last year, and we've got very little experience coming back. John Allen is basically the only one that's had very much game experience.
So you're starting from scratch. It's an unknown bag, really. It really depended a whole lot on your recruiting, too.
Right, of course, in the SEC, you're going to be real fortunate if you can sign a freshman that can come in the offensive line and start and then be able to win for you.
Were you able to do that?
No.
Okay.
I guess you'd be the one to ask, what do you feel about Herschel Walker being gone from the SEC?
Well, of course, I imagine we all glad that he's gone. It'd be, and of course, that's just one less you got to face. We're glad he's gone.
What will you be teaching this line, the new scheme of things in the offensive format here?
Well, of course, what's going to be new is I don't know what they've done over the past couple of 3 years, but of course we basically would like to throw the football. The personnel is going to dictate to us there as to what we can do. Of course, blocking on pass and run. We got several different blocking schemes on the pass, and of course the running schemes, the blocking schemes there is actually decided usually by the defense as to what they're giving us defensively.
Actually, I guess you have one advantage. You don't have to deprogram any lineman from an old method into a new. You got a brand new, don't you?
That's right. like I say, very little experience.
Coach, can you give us some names of some players that you might be using next year, considering that your whole offensive line is gone?
Well, don't really know. It's just like I told the kids the other day, you know, we're going to find the best 5 that can play, and we're going to line them up there. I'm not that familiar with them. I possibly couldn't call you 5 names, you know. To be honest with you, I couldn't give you any names.
Yes, sir.
What's the best recruiting score you came up with?
We signed a kid, the Cheatham kid, was an offensive line from El Dorado, Arkansas, and we feel like that possibly he can come in and help. And we signed a Hoskin kid from New Orleans that we hope that can come in and help us in the offensive line.
Well, good luck.
Appreciate it.
Good luck. And your name, sir?
David Hines, wide receivers and tight ends.
And then it's going to be under this wide open offense, your chore to teach good hands and speed and how to break in the open, huh?
I don't know about that as far as it's hard to teach speed, and it's really hard to teach good hands. A lot of that is natural ability, but there's a few small things that you can do, little things that we try to get out of receivers to do to better their hands. And the main thing what we'll probably be working on mostly is routes.
That's the key. Good routes. You got questions, Bill?
Coach, I got a question. It's said when you got here that you, of all the other coaches, really stepped into a gold mine because Ole Miss has got several very good wide receivers. The only thing that's been wrong with them that has been said is that the Ole Miss wide receivers run much deeper patterns. It takes a long time for the play to develop, and therefore they didn't get the ball as much as they needed to. Are we going to see shorter patterns or more rollout patterns, more dump-off passes to the wide receivers?
We're definitely, the thing that hopefully we'll be able to do that we've done in the past is get the ball to a variety of receivers. And when I say receivers, I'm also talking about a tight end, I'm talking about your running backs, and of course talking about your flanker and your split end. We don't try to hone in on any one receiver, such as a kid that might catch 70 balls a year. We try to not let a defense get the jump on us by being able to double cover or sometimes triple cover a single receiver. As far as the short passing game, we've got all 3. We've got what we call a short passing game, an intermediate, and also a deep passing game. Our routes vary throughout the course of a ball game, and we're going to have all 3 into our game plan each week.
Will you be keying mostly on timing in this spring drill, or just looking at personnel, finding out which position you're going to play?
As far as the wideouts go, there'll be quite a bit of time between the quarterback and the wideouts, and we'll be working on the routes. Some of the ones that we're bringing in are different than what they've done in the past, which the quarterback's going to have to get used to along with the receivers. Also, personnel is a big factor as far as placing these guys in the right position. At times, we'll have 3 and maybe 4 wide receivers on the field at one time. So, in order to get the best possible combination we can, and there's going to be a lot of work in that respect.
Coach, you said that the ball is going to be thrown to the running backs, to really all the receivers. You teach receiving. Do you teach receiving to the running backs and to the tight ends too?
I've got the tight ends. Coach Canny has the running backs, but we're basically teaching the same thing, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Well, we could talk to each one of these about an hour, 30 minutes. Pretty interesting. Coach?
Bill Canny, we've got the running backs.
And who coordinates the offense?
Coach McGraw.
Coach McGraw is the chief.
Right.
There. How does that work? Do you guys pool together and come up with different formats, different plans, or well, you've been working together pretty long, so you know pretty well how each thinks, I imagine.
Well, they've got a base scheme, but we do talk about things and make small adjustments and things. But Coach McGraw's got the scheme that they've been running for quite some time. Now, I'm new with this staff, and so I'm spending a little time learning right now.
All right. How'd the running back situation look?
Well, we've only got 2 coming back with any experience. Buford McGee is coming back at running back, and Arthur Humphrey at fullback.
Okay.
Coach, you decided to stay here at Ole Miss instead of following Coach Sloan. Why that decision?
Well, I just feel like the program here at Ole Miss is ready to blossom. I feel like being in the SEC, and I'm a Mississippi boy, and I like it here at Ole Miss, and I just appreciate the opportunity to be here with Coach Brewer and with this staff.
What about this new staff and Coach Brewer?
Well, I tell you what, I think it's headed in the right direction. I really do.
And then they switched you from defense to the running backs.
Right.
Is that something that you're more familiar with? Was that a problem, maybe?
You might say that. I'd been on offense for 15, 16 years on the college level, and had only been on defense for 3 or 4 years, past 3 or 4 years here. So I feel very comfortable being back on the offensive side of the ball.
Okay, the Blue-Red game's coming up right after all the spring drills. And you expecting an exciting ball game, or it's too early to even kind of expect, huh?
Well, it is too early to know what's going to happen. That right now we're going to have to spend some time learning and cutting out mistakes and try to keep people healthy and learn what to do.
One thing about it, this ball game, you get somebody hurt and they're not hurt too bad. At least they got all summer to heal, just about. Okay, let me get a mic over here to you.
Coach Canny, who do you expect to be able to fill in behind the running backs you have right now?
Well, behind Buford right now, Nathan Wandersley is running pretty well in the off-season program. He's got good speed, doesn't have great size, but has good speed. And Andre Rogers and Ducksworth are the others at the running back spot.
Coach, Ole Miss in recruiting this year signed a whole bunch of backs. Some running backs, some defensive backs. Is Ole Miss real low, in the depth?
Well, we don't have much depth as far as experience right now, and running back was one of the top priorities in recruiting this year, and we've got 4 coming in that we feel real good about.
Will we be seeing these people play?
Well, I think there's a good chance of it. Of course, you can't determine that until they do report, and once they get here, how quickly they can learn and how they make the adjustment, from high school ball into college ball. But I think running back is a spot where a freshman can play.
Okay, questions for any of these people now that, and some of you, yeah, Bill.
I'm going to open up again for Coach Canny.
All right.
The quarterback coach is not here, right?
I think he just walked in.
Did he?
Did he?
And who is that? Dave, who's the quarterback coach?
George Smith.
George Smith is the new one. Maybe you'd be the one to ask. Do you know how the quarterbacks are looking? All of you probably know. You're seeing them out there every day.
It's hard to tell in all-season program. We haven't really started practice yet, and it's hard to tell, how they're looking in as far as, progressing in the passing game.
Okay, excuse me, I got some questions over here. Let's see, first.
I wanted to ask Coach Torbush where you came from.
Yeah, let me get over here.
I've been with Coach Brewer now just about 8 years. Coach Youngblood's been with him now, Robert, 17, 18 years. I was at Southeastern with him for 4 years and been at Louisiana Tech the last 3 years and came here from Louisiana Tech.
What about your football playing days?
I played football at Carson Newman College for 4 years. Matter of fact, I played for this old guy right here. He was my linebacker coach.
How about you? Okay, Ronnie?
Do you expect any walk-ons to help any of you?
I'll say this about walk-ons. I think a walk-on that Ole Miss has is probably as fine of opportunity as anywhere in the nation right now. I know in the past 8 years we've probably averaged signing 4 to 5 walk-ons every year we've been coaching in college football, which says a great deal for a young man coming in here without a scholarship and having an opportunity to earn one.
How do you do that if you were a walk-on?
Well, young man, basically we'll know a little bit about him because we've probably seen him sometime during the year. And if he's 2 inches too short or maybe 0.2 of a second too slow or maybe not quite big enough right now, we're not indispensable. We make mistakes also. So if a young man comes in here and lets us know that he wants the opportunity to walk on, or if we feel like that we were close to signing him and just didn't have enough scholarships to sign him, then we'll invite him to walk on. And then once those young men come here, they have every opportunity that any young man comes here that is on scholarship.
I wanted to ask Coach McGraw a question, offensive line coach. Coach, it was said last year that a lot of Ole Miss's problems in the offensive line was the offense was just too complicated, to tell you the truth. Are we going to see the offensive line staying at home more and take straight-on blocks instead of...
All right. Well, I understand last year they were moving the offensive line around from the left to the right. We don't. They call that flip-flopping the line. You know, with the ones that's at the right side, the right guard will be the right guard today. He'll be the right guard 2 years from now. You know, he won't be moving around. And, of course, this has some advantages in doing it this way, and it also has some disadvantages. But the teaching is more teaching, but technique is less, you know. So we feel like that it'll be it's simpler for them, you know. And, you know, all the blocking schemes in the world, you know, if you can't execute them, they're not very good. So you got to be able to execute what you do, you know. And the kids have got to have confidence in it. They got to be able to understand what you're trying to teach them and get them to do it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
In fact, Coach Brewer had said that the offense may be a little more simple